Thank you, Mr. Irfaan Ali, and welcome to this discussion today where you'll be discussing transforming Guyana and talking about some of the items on your agenda for moving Guyana forward. As we all know, you've been having several discussions on leadership, on development, and we are anxious to hear about some of the initiatives that you will put forward in moving Guyana forward. As we all know, as Guyanese, we want to ensure that during your leadership, the ordinary man can feel the benefits from your policies. And you are here today to give us the broad agenda, but also to show us how it will trickle down to impact the lives and livelihood of the ordinary Guyanese citizen. Mr. Irfaan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, you. And again, I'm happy to discuss with you what I would want to term the transformative agenda. Okay. How we keep talking about the major initiatives and major projects, and sometimes when you go out to the community, persons would like to hear, yes, you're doing roads, you're doing drainage, you'll be building schools, you'll be building health centers, but what are those new initiatives, key initiatives that would expand opportunity, create jobs, enhance livelihood, improve community life, and result in the benefit not only of citizens in our country, but will result in a sustainable roadmap for economic growth and prosperity for Guyana and Guyanese. And there are some major initiatives that I've been talking about that I would like to explore in some greater detail. But let me say this. I want persons who are listening to this program and who will be reading our 2019 manifesto to do so in conjunction with our 2015 manifesto. Okay, yes. Because in our 2015 manifesto, we identified some critical issues and some critical items, some critical projects that would have propelled Guyana into a future that would have been prosperous. A lot of those initiatives were left unimplemented as a result of the what took place in 2015, and we have seen a lack of clarity and vision. Yes. That has really resulted in a lack of vision. There is no clear vision. There is no clear pathway under this government as to where Guyana is going. So one person asked me the other day, how can, for example, 50,000 house lot, how is this linked to the improvement of the life of every Guyanese? And it's a fair question, because sometimes we just hear 50,000 house lots. But what we fail to realize is that in achieving this target, we have to develop 10,000 acres of land. And 10,000 acres of land, to get that acreage, will take us all across this country. To develop 10,000 acres of land, you need at a minimum $50 billion of investment. That is $50 billion of investment in our economy that would create jobs. So when we talk about the 50,000 jobs, it is critically linked to all of these initiatives that has what we call the transitional benefit, or what we call the multiplier effect. And in understanding the multiplier effect, as I'm giving here an example of housing, you will have hardware stores benefit, and the trucks that has to transport stone. The quarries will benefit from the production of stone, the production of sand, the need for equipment and machinery. So all of these things are linked, and it creates direct benefit at the community level. It creates benefit by the creation of jobs, and it enhances business opportunities, which lead to private sector growth, which leads to private sector having greater level of profitability, and so on. And the output is the 50,000 house lots. Yes. But the input to get that create a stream of economic benefit, a stream of investment opportunity, and a stream of empowerment at the community level and at the national level that help in the creation of wealth and improve livelihood. So that is just one example. So we have many major initiatives in the 2015 manifesto, and when the 2019 manifesto will be released, you will see a number of other major projects that is critically linked to the sustainable pathway for Guyana. And many of these projects are outside the realm of oil and gas. Of course, oil and gas will be a catalyst. It will help us to get there faster. It will help us to reach the destination faster. It will be a catalyst for growth and development. But it's not the all means to an end. And that is how we're going to avoid the Dutch disease, by ensuring we build these sectors and build these opportunities in other areas and other sectors that will create wealth and are sustainable in nature. Very important for us to understand this and for us to do this and know that it has to be part of the equation of growth and for growth and development.
And well, if I can interject, Mr. Ali, I'm glad that you raised that point, because it shows clearly that prior to coming out of office in 2015, that you've had a track record that shows that you've already been involved in urbanization, which is a really key pillar in transforming any economy. So the economy was already being transformed, but as you rightly said, it was halted by the current administration, and what we're seeing today is a stagnation in the economy in general. So when we talk about housing, it's a very important dimension in terms of your agenda. So what you're basically telling the people of Guyana is that you're basically going to show how we're going to continue to move the economy with oil.
It's not only continuing, and I'm not only saying with oil, because the opportunities were identified in 2015. But these are opportunities that would enhance or widen the economic pie of Guyana. It would ensure that our economic growth is multifaceted, and it's not premised on one area. And that is why we were able to ride out the Great Economic Depression about 10 years ago and do so successfully, whilst many other countries suffered. It was great planning and great initiatives that help us to do that. So what are some of the major things that we need to do that will be done under the People's Progressive Party civic government? Well, and before I get to that, let me say that we have to invest strategically in training and certification for our young people, ensuring that we have the necessary human resource potential, qualified and competent, with the necessary experience to leapfrog us into the future. To do this, we have to understand as a country that we have to operate on two parallels. On the first parallel, we have to fix the existing, because the existing has many difficulties. Whilst we are fixing the existing, we have to work rapidly on the other parallel of leapfrogging our country in the future. Because if we work in a continuous flow to get there, it will take us too long. The lag would be too long. So what we have to do is work on two parallel. So we have to set up the type of investment in initiatives on this parallel that will drive us into the future, that will sustain that future, whilst we fix the sore on the existing problem at the bottom. So we're operating at two parallel. All right? So whilst we fix the community roads that needs to be fixed, while we fix the community drains, while we fix the community health centers, while we fix the community schools and so on, we also have to look at the bigger picture as to what will propel us into the future and give us enough revenue to sustain and maintain all of these things we are fixing at the community level. So I give you housing as an example. The hinterland. The hinterland has tremendous potential for us. The hinterland has tremendous opportunity, whether it's mining, whether it's forestry, and we have to support investors in these areas to ensure that it is economically viable while sustainable. Ensuring that it's sustainable so future generation of Guyanese can benefit. But investors must also have viability in terms of what they're investing in. So the hinterland has tremendous opportunity, whether it's a carbon credit market, whether it's forestry, whether it's mining, whether it's tourism. What is one of the most critical or the inhibitive factor that everyone would tell you who want to invest in the hinterland or riverine areas. One is transportation. The cost of transportation, the cost of road link. So we have to address this. We cannot have a situation where many communities in important areas, both from a social and economic standpoint, are cut off from us as a result of rainy season for 5 or 6 months in the year, or 4 months of the year. It is not sustainable. It's not sustainable for the investors or for us as a country. And it drives up cost of living in these areas. So we are going to invest heavily in hinterland roads, in improving transportation link, in reducing the cost of transportation. These are things you will see in our 2019 manifesto. Improved transportation link, reduction in transportation costs, reduction in air travel. And we have about $2 billion we're looking to set aside every year at a minimum in terms of helping to maintain and build hinterland roads. We're looking at hinterland airstrips. These are things that we identified also in 2015, that we have to upgrade a number of airstrips in hinterland location that would help other sectors to propel themselves. And the road links are critical if we're going to expand agriculture and mega farms to ensure that we have greater access to markets and easier access to markets and less costly access to markets. So these are how things are linked, how things are interrelated. So when you talk about the investment in hinterland roads, in investment in the reduction of transportation costs, it is not only the output of roads, it is the output that creates the opportunity for new jobs, new opportunities, right? It creates a safer environment, better opportunity for communities. These are the types of things that are output of these major initiatives. Then energy. We're talking here about affordable and clean energy.
Yes, important.
Those are two key factors when we talk about the energy agenda. Definitely, if we want to, as we want to do, build the manufacturing and industrial sector, and if we have downstream and upstream from oil and gas, and even at the community level, at the household level, the present cost of energy is unsustainable. We cannot be competitive with the present cost, and too much of the household revenue, too much of household disposable income is sucked up in the cost of energy because it is too high. And now 2015, we started to address this with the hydropower, clean and affordable energy. So this agenda is going to continue. So we have the hydro the power. That is one facility. We look at developing community grids, the use of solar panels in different communities that are off the national grid. We have to also look at the gas, the potential, natural gas with more oil find. The quantity is increasing and the viability also will improve. So we have to look at that as another form. And other aspect of alternative energy. Okay. The idea here is to have clean, sustainable, affordable energy that will drive industrial development, drive manufacturing, drive processing, reduce household costs of electricity, empower households, have greater levels of disposable income, and improve the living standards of people. So the energy agenda is very clear. Oil and gas, as I said, will be a catalyst to achieving these major investment and infrastructure need, creating the transformative agenda, creating the opportunities for the expanded base of the economy, and creating an output that would help us to widen job access, widen economic opportunities for all Guyanese. So the oil and gas sector would help us as a catalyst to move this forward very quickly. Then we have to be able to ensure that the infrastructure we are investing in creates great growth poles. So we'll have new areas of growth, new areas of opportunity, new areas of economic life. And this would help us to really diversify from the city. You know, everybody speaks about migration to the city, and this is a global issue because of job opportunities. Yes. But I presented a paper once that argued that if you're able to create the opportunities in the rural areas or the suburban areas, then there will be no need to migrate to the city. You will have less pressure on the city, and the city itself would have a little more breathing space. So it's ensuring that development is not only centered in one particular area, but is spread across, and the creation of new growth poles. Look at Diamond, for example.
Yes.
We created the investment opportunity. Yes. We created a huge housing development, link it to economic development, to a financial sector that was developed in that area, and look at the type of benefits that it brought. Yes. Job creation, empowerment, and the whole area got a new life, linked to Grove and all of these things. Look at Porica. And that came out of a very targeted and strategic move at that time by President Jagdeo, because he launched the concept of secondary tongues. And I remembered well, because I was in charge of the Caribbean Development Bank unit at that time, when we negotiated that loan. Okay. And we saw the institutional strengthening component, we saw the infrastructure component, and we saw the link and how it would have led to the evolution of what is taking place in these areas. Compare that to what we have now. A minister walking into a community and declaring a tongue. There is no supporting infrastructure. There is no plan in terms of what will be the economic output. There is no plan as to what is the final objective, what you want out of this area. So the investment must be able to create these growth poles, these growth opportunities that would enhance the livelihood and economic options of investors and persons in different communities. As a result of the investment that we made in Providence, look at how it is linked now to what is taking place. The Textile University was a private investment. I remember when we turned the sod there, I said this university will be the reason why many households will repay their loans. Some laughed at it. Today, a number of households there are renting an apartment or a room to students there, and that is paying their monthly installments. So development is not only about doing a project. It's about planning and understanding how that project or how that initiative or how that investment would lead to wider, more sustainable growth and opportunities for people down the road. So this brings me to a very important point of road links. What are some of the key road links that would help us to advance this agenda and create this type of opportunity? We drive along the Linden-Soesdijk Highway. We look at this white sand, a lot of land there, a lot of agriculture going on, but we have natural lakes, we call it creeks, and white sand. Two great formula for high-end housing development.
Yes, I can see that.
But why is it not achieved? It's not achieved because people say it's too far away from the center. When you look at global statistics and look at suburban development, you have to reduce the time to the center to about 20-25 minutes traveling time. How can we achieve this? We can achieve this very easily by building the 6-lane road from the Timeri International Airport all along the East Bank corridor, passing on the outer skirt of the city around to the East Coast. What this does, it creates new growth pole. Apart from the initial investment that will create jobs and so on. Because we're thinking far beyond 5 years. This is not only about getting in there for 5 years and 10 years and building an infrastructure. This is about creating infrastructure that would lead to sustainable development way into the future. So this will create new lands, opening up new lands, new growth poles, growth opportunity. It will enhance new economic wealth, creation of new investment, new wealth into the system, reduce the traveling time to 25 minutes. So suddenly, Soos Dijk is not a long distance away anymore.
Compressed, yes.
In 25 minutes, you're at work. In 25 minutes, you're in the city. So the options in terms of the utilization of the land on Soos Dijk now is expanded. Because you're not only looking at somewhere far away, only to go on weekends to a creek and so on. The tourism option, the agricultural option, closer to the market and everything. So the livelihood option, the economic option for lands along this corridor and lands along this area improves and increases significantly. No longer are we talking about the back dam behind the Conservancy. We are now talking about the front land leading onto the new highway. So the conversation changed, the use changed. And this brings me to a very important aspect of achieving this holistic type of development that we must be able to do. And that is the development of an integrated land use and management system. Very critical for Guyana. And it's an area in urban and regional planning that we must address. We must address. So, what are the road links? I spoke about the road link from the Timehri International Airport. We're also going to examine the viability of a light commercial rail from Diamond going all the way to Golden Grove, because that is one of the major movement, one of the major area that you have large movement of people that we have to look at. That's something that we're going to examine. Then we have to create mega farms. I talk about improving hinterland roads. Mega farms in the intermediate savannas, mega farms all across in new lands that we develop. Okay. That will require investment in drainage and irrigation. So we have investment, major investment in drainage and irrigation that would create the opportunities for mega farms, opening up of new areas for farming. And how, if we open up new areas for farming, and we have mega farms, and we have a new large-scale economic type of activities, whether it's agriculture, tourism, and so on, that is taking place in the savannas. And then it is linked to Brazil. And industrial development take place. Manufacturing take place. Critical to that is having a deep water harbor. And linking Brazil, northern Brazil, with that deep water harbor, because of the traffic, the backward and forward traffic, that now creates an opportunity for us to have a free zone linked to the deep water harbor. This, of course, creates tremendous opportunity for brokerage, logistics, entertainment, hotels, services, including restaurants. So this is how the spin-off of these major investment in these major projects would benefit us in a long term and in a sustainable manner. We also have a project that we mentioned in 2015 that is critical also to link us to a wider market, a newer market, and that is the bridging the Quarantine River. The Islamic Development Bank has already held discussion, and I think they have an MOU with Suriname in relation to this. That was reported in the media. So we have to look at that project also and the potential it has for creating new opportunities, expanding the well-being, improving the prospect of Guyanese, and having a sustainable future. That's another major initiative. The new Demerara River crossing. We're talking about continuous flow of traffic. You can't have a river crossing now that you have opening on such a major link. You have to have continuous flow. And we're talking here not of a 2-lane but to the minimum of a 4-lane Demerara River Bridge. This is another initiative that we are going to pursue. And in terms of opening up new land, and we can go on and on in talking about the link. This is what I call a small snippet as to some of what we have in terms of the transformative agenda. And I'm introducing this so persons will go to our manifesto. Read it in conjunction also with the 2019 manifesto. So in terms of opening up new lands, we have the Del Conte Road. That would not only open up new lands for agriculture, but has the potential of leading us to new lands for waterfront development, wharf development, shore-based development. The options, you see, the investment create newer options. The investment create newer opportunities that are, some are traditional in nature and some are non-traditional as a result of oil and gas. And it is how we structure these investments so that we can catalyze it for the benefit of Guyanese, the benefit of communities, because all along the roadways, all along these areas that we're going to develop, what you will have is different communities emerging, growth poles emerging, and as I said, the reduced time in transportation and easier access would expand opportunities in areas that we have always talked about. Our ecotourism potential, enormous. I had the honor of serving as Minister of Tourism, and I was able to visit some of these facilities. Second to none. We won the Sustainable Tourism Award not only nationally during those years, but individual resorts won awards. Individual resorts won awards. However, how many Guyanese or visitors have access to these resorts? And one of the inhibitive things is the link, transportation link, and the cost. So these investments also would help these sectors. But in addition to the sectors, to the infrastructure investment helping the sectors, we also have to provide the fiscal incentives that would stimulate the sectors, that would help the sectors to grow, that would help the sectors to catalyze themselves and benefit from these investments. So as I said, I can go on and on, Mr. Todd, but it's a snippet. And I want persons to go to our manifesto, read the 2019 in conjunction with 2015, and you'll have a better understanding on the pathway to progress, development, job creation, and opportunities for all Guyanese under PP civic government.
Thank you very much, Mr. Irfaan Ali. You've given us enough to chew on, and as you said, citizens should visit the manifesto to get further details. But thank you very much for giving us a broad perspective on your agenda for transforming Guyana from the urbanization aspect, infrastructure development, human capital development, and how we can do it in a sustainable manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.